the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which anyone raised or lowered, raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression.
That's Tariffs, as explained by Ben Stein in the classic film Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So with talk of tariffs all over just now, just what about today? What could tariffs mean for your pocketbook? David Pogue adds it all up.
The word tariff is the most beautiful word in the dictionary.
I think it's more beautiful than love.
President-elect Donald Trump has made his feelings about tariffs very clear.
I love tariffs.
Tariff! It's music to my ears.
Well, a tariff is a tax. So in U.S. history, we're basically only talking about import tariffs, taxes on imported goods coming into the U.S.
According to Dartmouth economics professor Doug Irwin, governments have all kinds of reasons for introducing tariffs.
So sometimes it's to reduce the trade deficit, sometimes it's to bring back jobs, sometimes it's to punish other countries for their unfair trade practices, sometimes it's to raise revenue so that we can cut income taxes.
At its most fundamental, a tariff works like this. Suppose we import a product from China. The price is $50, but before you can buy it, our government adds $25 to the price. That's the tariff. Your final price is $75. China gets its $50. The extra $25 winds up going to the U.S. Treasury. But who pays these tariffs? According to Donald Trump, it's the other countries.
Trillions and trillions of dollars pouring into the United States Treasury. China paid hundreds of billions of dollars during my term.
But of course, that's not exactly the way tariffs work. I think economists would say that's very misleading to say that that's what's going on. Of course, it's the U.S. final consumers that are paying those, not China itself. So China is not writing checks to the U.S. government. It's a transfer from consumers to the federal government.
Tariffs have been part of international trade since our country was founded. The first one was imposed by George Washington. And what we've learned over history is that they often have unintended consequences. We have a tariff on sugar that has doubled the price of sugar. It has helped out our sugarcane farmers in Louisiana and Florida, but it's also driven 34% of American chocolate and candy manufacturing and jobs out of the country. Then there was Trump's 25% tariff on imported steel in 2018. Our steelmakers thrived, but companies that make things out of steel, like Ford, GM, and Caterpillar, suffered dearly. Just ask Ford's then CEO, Jim Hackett.
The metals tariffs took about $1 billion of profit from us. If it goes on longer, there'll be more damage.
Tariffs against one particular country can backfire.
With the China tariffs, we're importing a lot more from Vietnam, we're importing a lot more from Malaysia. If the idea with the tariff was to bring jobs back home, instead we're just shifting them from China to Vietnam in some sense.
And P.S., tariffs don't just raise prices on the imported stuff.
It's the price of the domestic substitutes as well.
So if there's a tariff on imported steel, but I'm an American steelmaker, I can opportunistically say, well, hey, now I can raise my prices too?
Absolutely. Consumers don't have the choice anymore. They can buy the really high-priced steel or they can buy you.
Finally, there's the retaliation problem.
When we imposed the steel tariffs, the European Union and China got very upset with us. And what did they do? They raised tariffs on American farm goods. So all of a sudden, American farmers, who had nothing to do with steel per se, they found their sales limited overseas.
Even Ronald Reagan could have told you that.
High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition.
So exactly what tariffs has Donald Trump proposed?
We will phase in a system of universal baseline tariffs.
Originally, he outlined tariffs across the board. Every product, every category, every country in the world.
We're going to charge them 10 to 20%.
Now, every recent president has favored some tariffs. The Biden administration, for example, maintained some of the tariffs from Trump's first term and imposed its own 100% tariff on Chinese electric cars. But these tariffs have always targeted particular categories of products.
An across-the-board tariff, that's not targeting a particular commodity or product. It's not targeting a particular country. It's just saying all imports, all sources get hit with this tax. That's a very different type of tariff.
And wouldn't we then notice that, wow, prices are going up on everything?
We would definitely notice.
More recently, Trump has proposed double-digit tariffs on everything imported from Mexico, Canada, and China. They would raise the price we pay for things like fruit, lumber, electronics, oil, medicine, metals, and beef. Studies have calculated that those tariffs will cost 1% of all American jobs, raise average car prices $3,000, and cost every American household at least $1,000 a year. But Donald Trump's transition leader, Howard Lutnick, predicts that his boss won't tax imported goods for which there are no American-made alternatives.
Tariffs are an amazing tool by the president to use. They're an amazing tool, but he understands, don't tariff stuff we don't make, right? If we don't make it and you want to buy it, I don't want to put the price up.
But maybe Donald Trump has no intention of imposing the tariffs for real. Maybe he's playing a strategic game, tariffs as negotiating tactics.
Tariffs give you tremendous power over countries when they're doing bad things, including war.
Tariffs can be used as a threat and a bargaining chip. And sometimes, if you're really credible, just making the threat of a tariff is enough to bring another country to change its policy in a way that you desire without you actually having to impose the tariff in the end.
In the end, when a government wants to achieve some economic or geopolitical goal, it can use all kinds of different tools. According to economics professor Doug Irwin, tariffs are a powerful tool too. They're just rarely the best one.
What economists have concluded is that tariffs usually have a lot of unintended consequences, can lead to blowback where other countries retaliate against you, and so are not a really good policy instrument for achieving goals that we all Americans want to achieve.